In a world where so many countries are closing borders and shutting people out, here's one that's doing the opposite. Well, hello there and welcome to Plain English lesson number 304. I'm Jeff. JR is manning the controls behind the scenes. The full lesson can be found at plainenglish.com/304. Coming up on today's lesson, a country that's proactively attracting new residents with lower barriers to citizenship and a media campaign based on its stability and competence. The expression is fed up, and we have a quote of the week. It's a small country bordered on both sides by big neighbors without a major financial center or tourist attractions. It rarely makes the international news. Its most well-known president was famous for driving his own old car to work. Its big advantage is that it's pleasant, well-governed, stable, and welcoming to all kinds of people. And tiny Uruguay is welcoming foreigners with open arms. In fact, they've attracted thousands of new residents just since the coronavirus pandemic has started. It all started when Luis Lacalle Pou, the country's newly elected president, said that Uruguay would benefit from another 100,000 to 200,000 people. The whole country's population is just 3.5 million, a little under half of whom live in the capital, Montevideo. So an additional 200,000 residents would be a big deal. Look around the world, and countries are shunning outsiders. It's as true in America as England as Poland. So why does Uruguay think it needs more people? Here's one good reason. Uruguay has a generous welfare state, meaning it offers good government benefits. To sustain spending like that, you need a growing population. Japan offers a cautionary tale for what can happen if the total population does not grow over time. Japan finds itself with an aging population and not enough younger workers to replace those who are retiring. It's hard to support relatively expensive older citizens if there aren't a lot of younger productive workers to pay for it. One way to forestall this problem is to accept immigrants. But that, I don't need to tell this audience, is not something every country is prepared to do. Japan has been less welcoming to immigrants and has aged rapidly. The United States, if it's not careful, may repeat the mistake. Europe has done a little better, but Canada, Australia, and New Zealand are welcoming to foreigners and have seen their populations grow much quicker than Japan and the US. Uruguay is getting ahead of this problem. Their population grew at half the rate of neighboring Brazil and Argentina. Their fertility rate is lower than that of their neighbors, and their population is aging faster than other Latin American countries. Uruguay doesn't have any major international cities. It isn't a natural resource powerhouse. It hasn't hosted a World Cup, and it doesn't have the kind of international heft of its neighbors. Without glamour and exposure, it makes it hard to attract immigrants from abroad. But Uruguay is being smart. They have recognized their strengths and are exploiting them. So why would someone move to a tiny country at the bottom of South America? Well, let me count the ways. Uruguay has a stable society, is a well-governed democracy with peaceful transitions of power, and is welcoming to all kinds of people. In the age of coronavirus, that counts for something. It has charming colonial towns, pleasant beaches, vineyards and good wine, and a beautiful, tranquil countryside. Uruguay doesn't have the corruption of Brazil, the revolutionary fervor of Bolivia, the fiery socialism of Venezuela, the financial instability of Argentina, the drug wars of Colombia, the violence of Mexico, the culture wars of the United States, or the punishing climate of Canada. Its residents are Catholic, but are welcoming to all kinds. Uruguay was the first country in Latin America to legalize marijuana use and gay marriage, and guess what? Society has not fallen apart. Oh, and by the way, it managed the pandemic extremely well and had the lowest death rate in all of Latin America. Competent governance and stability alone aren't enough to attract new residents. So that's why President Luis Lacalle Pou implemented new immigration policies aimed at attracting new residents. Specifically, the reforms lowered the amount of investment a foreigner needs to make to qualify for residency. Now, a prospective resident needs to buy property worth just $380,000 American dollars, down from about $2 million before. Business owners qualify for residency after investing the equivalent of 1.7 million American dollars, down from over 5 million before the reforms. It's becoming logistically easier to immigrate too. Prior to the recent reforms, if you wanted Uruguayan residency, you had to spend 183 days out of every year in the country. Now, that's just 60 days. This makes it easier to transition from, say, neighboring Argentina over a period of years without having to abruptly move full-time right away. Argentina is Uruguay's main target. Argentina's population is 13 times larger than Uruguay's, and many of Argentina's business people are fed up with the roller coaster that is their country's politics. New taxes on wealth and the threat of more to come have pushed thousands of Argentines to move to Uruguay. Real estate agents in the Tony beachside city of Punta del Este say that the housing market is on fire. President Lacalle Pou was all too happy to give interviews in Argentine media, showing off Uruguay's advantage. Over 20,000 people have applied to move from Argentina to Uruguay this year alone. I have been fascinated by Uruguay for a long time. I had the opportunity to go in 2012 when I was in Argentina, but I didn't go, and I regret it. Uruguay just seems like an extremely sensible, reasonable place to live. It might not have the excitement of other places, but sometimes stability is what you want. The last few days, I've been reading more about Uruguay and the travel destinations there, so that might have to be my first trip once international travel is safe again. Who knows? I was browsing the tourist attractions in Uruguay on my phone the other day and started daydreaming about taking my next international vacation there. I'm fed up with not being able to travel and not being able to plan anything either, since we don't even know when travel might be possible. I'm fed up with this virus. What does that mean? I'm fed up with this virus. I'm fed up with the lockdown. I'm fed up with having to wear a mask everywhere I go. It means I'm frustrated and I'm out of patience. I'm not happy with it. I've had enough of it. If you're frustrated with something and you're losing patience with it, then you're fed up with it. Let me clarify here. It can't just be something you're angry about. It has to be something you've lived with for a while, something you've suffered through. So let me give you an example. Last year, it snowed on Halloween in Chicago. It ruined a lot of people's plans to go out in their Halloween costumes. It is not correct to say, I'm fed up with all of this snow. Why is that not correct? Because that was the first snowstorm of the year. Halloween, October 31st, that's early. So you can't be fed up with it because it's new. You can be angry with it, sure, that's your right, but you can't be fed up with something unless you've suffered through it for a while. Now, fast forward and imagine it's cold and snowy on March 15th. Now you have the right to say you're fed up with the snow and the cold weather. Now, on March 15th, you've been living with that for 5-6 months, and you've lost patience with it. You're fed up with the cold, you're fed up with the snow, because you've lived with it for too long, and now you have lost patience. Earlier, I said that many business people in Argentina are fed up with the high taxes and political instability in their country. From their perspective, they've lived through a lot of financial and political instability. They've had to suffer through lots of restrictions, a devaluation of the currency, and high taxes. And after Argentina raised certain taxes again last year, a lot of people are fed up and are leaving. If you say that you're fed up, it means that you're angry and your patience has run out. If you want to specify why you're angry, you say fed up with, and then the thing that makes you angry. Let's say a coworker decides to leave her job. You both have the same job, so you both know the pros and cons of working there. You ask your coworker, "Hey, why did you decide to resign?" She responds, "I'm just fed up, that's all." Just fed up. You nod your head because you know, you work there too. No need to explain. However, if you meet someone for the first time and she tells you, "I just quit my job, I'm fed up," that's going to leave you wondering, fed up with what? What is she angry about? So you might ask, well, what are you fed up with? And she might respond, I'm fed up with having to work late every night. Or I'm fed up with all the gossip in the office, or whatever. So when you want to say what you're angry about, what you've suffered through for so long, you say fed up with. I'm fed up with your bad behavior. You might say that if you have a misbehaving child. If your spouse or partner complains all the time, you might say, I'm fed up with all your complaining. If you're not happy, then do something about it. JR, oh boy, I won't say the name of the cell phone provider, but their logo is pink. For years, JR had a cheaper cell phone provider in the United States, but the coverage was bad and he was losing calls and couldn't get a good signal. He was so fed up with them. He was so angry and had suffered with bad cell phone service for too long. Finally, after a few years, he switched to Verizon. That's how fed up he was with that pink cell phone provider. Happy 30th birthday to a united Germany. 3 decades ago this month, East and West Germany came together to form the country we know today as simply Germany. At the time, some people were afraid. They were a little concerned that Germany would become too big of a power in Europe and that they would upset the balance of power. France, Italy, the UK, they all had leaders that were a little nervous about the potential for Germany to dominate European affairs, especially economic affairs. Italy's prime minister at the time, Giulio Andreotti, was opposed to East and West Germany coming together, fearing that Italy would lose influence to a united Germany. So here was his joke, and it's the quote of the week. He said, I like Germany so much that I prefer to see 2 of them. I always strive for balance here at Plain English, so if we need to find a German joke at Italy's expense, I'm certainly open to that. Congratulations on making it to the end of another lesson. Remember, the fun continues online. We have a video lesson, translations into German, Italian, and 7 other languages, pronunciation and listening exercises, quizzes, and a fast version of this audio. That's all at plainenglish.com/304. And if you're not yet a Plus member, you can unlock all of those great features by visiting plainenglish.com/plus, Plus. Coming up on the next lesson, all about the tourist attraction called fall foliage. That's on Thursday, so don't miss it.